Hello folks, this model will be due on Thursday, and I'm just going to walk through. This is from the readings on page 65, and there's just one additional model I wanted to build out of the descriptions that were on that page, and it's about the nation of Camazy. And when I start reading through this, I see that the nation of Camazy currently has a population of 301 million people, 75 million people. 75 million of them are 20 years or younger. So I know I need a stock 20 years or younger. So I'm going to go and click on my stock variable, and this is going to be 20 years or younger. Just make that large enough and go in, and I'm going to click and square it up. And again, I'm going to move it around so I have all this space to work with you folks. I see I have some additional screen. And I'll put this in the middle, so that's my first stock. And then as I continue reading on, it says I have 76 million of the people are between the ages of 21 and 25. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab on this. I'm just going to copy and paste. And I'll drop this over, and this is going to be between the ages of people aged 21 to 45. Let's spell out 245. If I put a dash sign in there, it would end up looking like I am, maybe it's a minus sign, and I don't want that. And then the last group, I believe here, is going to be, and 150 million are over age 46. So I'm going to, well, I'll just copy this stock and paste it one more time. And this is going to be the aged over 46. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this model, it's somewhat repetitive of the things you've been doing, but this is sort of a pure aging chain, which is a big deal and is going to show up a lot of times. You can imagine that this is the beer game, right? And maybe it's just retailers, people aged 21 to 45 could be the wholesaler and the distributor, and the age 46 and over is sort of the factory. So you could be thinking of it along those lines. So I'm going to have some inflows here. So I know that I'd have births, so I'm going to click on my rate. I'm going to click to the left and hold down. I'm going to make sure I'm on top is what it is, and this will be called births. I know that I'm going to have people who are going to age from 20 to 21. And right now I'm not even reading the details. I just sort of physically know what's going on in a system like this. And then I'm going to have people aging up and becoming 46. I'm careful not to say old people or anything. And then I think the only way they're probably going to leave is maybe they're going to die. And I'm just going to put this in as deaths. And we'll assume maybe the younger populations. I will read more here. And it says only those between 21 and 45 bear children. So it's going to be my middle group. While childbearing age, the birth fraction in this group is 0.04. So I am going to have a, I could call it a birth rate. Let me call it the fractional birth rate. Because I'm dealing with population, I'm going to assume I'm working in years. When I click on this, I'll go to my x squared now. And this is going to be 0.04. And the unit's got to be dimensionless. It's a fraction. And I'm betting it's going to be per year. And now I'm going to double click on my white space, and I probably should have done this before. Does it give me a time that I'm running this population over? It says the DT, 300 years. So I'm going to go from 0 to 300. It's going to be 1/4. My months here, which is the default, needs to change to years. I am going to be good on that. And they want us to explain what's going on. I think that captures most of those right now, although I may have made a mistake. I'm rushing through this. So only this group is going to give birth. So what's happening is these folks are flowing back to my births. And this fraction must be taking into consideration how many men and women, and then how many women are actually giving birth per year is what's going on. So there's a lot built into that. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm guessing it's got to be multiplication. Because it's a fraction, I know that I'm going to be multiplying. I still don't have units in this rate, but I can't put the units in the rate. That's automatically done once I put what's in the stocks. And if I look back, and this is the under 20, there's 75 million. It says of them, 75 million. I'm assuming people. And once I put people in this, what you'll notice is people's already in the rest of the stocks, and it's because this is a conserved flow. These things are flowing right through each other is what it is. So the units have to be consistent. So if this is people, this would necessarily have to be people, as would this. And the rates, if I double click, it's going to be people per years because I've selected years as my simulation time, so it knows it's got to be the stock over the years that are in the simulation. Okay, this is to calculate the births each year. I've got that. Each year, 3% of the oldest group dies, while 1% of the youngest group dies. That's pretty cruel. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to say fraction of deaths of those 46 and over. And it said it was 3%. So that would work out to be 0.03. Again, this is going to be dimensionless per year, or years. And I know it's going to be connected to this outflow. And this is another one where almost always these, it's a function of the outflow, right? So, or it's proportional to the stock. And all I would be doing is multiplying 3% times the number that's in here. It's a fraction, so it's going to be multiplied. I've got my units correct. The number of people aged over 46, it must be giving me an initial value for that. 150 million, it says. So it's 150 million. I'm going to go with e to the 6th. And that would be 150 million. Let's go and look at what I did with my 20 and younger. I said 75. This isn't people, not millions of people. So I'm going to make this e to the 6th, turning it into millions. I'm putting 6 zeros on the end of there. And the number of people who are in this age group, 25, I'm looking through, 76 million is what it was. So it was 76. E to the 6th. So I don't have to write out all those zeros. You cannot have any commas or anything in any of these things. And now, one of the other things they said is the young people died, right? Each year, 3% of the oldest dies, while 1% of the two youngest groups die. So what I'm going to assume here is this is going to be, I'm going to call them youth dying. I call this middle-aged death. I'm not particularly looking at the readings when I'm doing these here. So it may have a different, and what I do know is that my stocks, the outflows are going to be proportional to the stocks. And it said fraction dying from younger groups. And this is going to be the 1% multiplied by both those groups. it's going to be people per year. Just multiplying these rates, people per year, and the fraction dying was 0.01. And this has to be dimensionless, so all I'm doing is I'm starting to type a capital D. I see dimensionless pops up. I click on it, backslash, and then years. So I still have, there's an invalid equation there. So how long are these folks in this age group is the question. And I'm reading through the instructions now, and I don't see where it says anything about them aging. So they're moving from 21 to 45. I need to figure how many years that is, right? So 21 to 45, 20 years should be me at 41. So it looks like they're in there for 44 years. So what I'm going to add in is time in 21 to 45 age group. And I will connect this. So yeah, what is 21 from 45? Well, that would be everything. How many years are between these two is the real question. So I'd say 45 minus 21 will give me those years. If I take 21 from 45, it's going to be a 4. It's going to be a 4. No, 44 years wouldn't make sense. It's going to be a 1 from would be 4. Oh, 24. So it's 24 years should be in here. You guys get to see how my mind works, particularly at 5:31 a.m. And because this is an average time, this formulation will not be multiplication, it will be division. So it's people per year. And this is just in years. Yep, we've got it in years. So that's going to keep people in. And this should capture everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a graph in here, just so I can observe the type of behavior. I still have one equation invalid. Aging, oh, I don't have anything aging from 20 to 21. So this has to be another time that is left up to you to figure out. So how long are they in here? From 0 to 20 years old would be 21 years. Time spent as youth. And this would be in years. And that's one of the lessons you should be asking yourselves is when you're doing or figuring out these equations, it's going to be years, it's going to be division, it's going to be a fraction, it would be multiplication. That's just something you're going to have to memorize and should be second nature. And this is in years. So when I click, all my units are set. I'm getting no more equations. I should be able to simulate this. Here's something else I'm pretty sure I can do. If on a Mac, I want to, I'm going to click the Command key down, and then I'm going to right-click and hold this stock down. And if I drag it, you see a plus sign on the graph. And if I let go of my mouse key, that variable is automatically appearing here. So I'm going to hold my Command key down, click on the stock, come over here, and that should have been in. Command key, hold down, come down, and let's see if I have it. I'm going to double click on this. I'm missing one, so I'll go to the plus, and it's the aged 21 to 25 was missing. I'm going to go to my wrench, and I'm going to put a legend in the bottom is all. So I'll keep track. And now, yeah, I think what I'd like to do too is I want to label these things. It's proper to label your graphs. And this is going to be age groups. Now if I simulate this, I can see that everyone is dying off. that 0.03 death rate is greater, and this 0.01 death rate is greater. So that's 1% of my population dies. I'm going to go back and double check my fractions. So 3% of the oldest age group dies. 3% would be 0.031. I've got that correct. While the oldest group dies, well, 0.1% of the youngest two age groups dies. So am I multiplying by too much for these two? I think I'm good with the 0.01. And then that's it. I've got the years right going between them. So what must happen is my birth rate is low enough that this population is dying off. It's declining. And even though it's 3 stocks, I should realize that the 3 stocks are declining because the outflows are greater than the inflows. And let's just test that. I have it blue in its run, so if I increase the fractional birth rate, then I can see there's a place where it still declines and practically reaches equilibrium because I have a lot of old people in this system. And then if I crank up my birth rate, then it's this feedback loop here which is generating the exponential growth. And what I can do is I know that this one is the strongest because it's growing exponentially. If I click on this, it's showing me here are the variables involved. And the way to trace this is you can start anywhere because it's a feedback loop. And it's going to be people age. This line is red, so it's going back to births. It's flowing into the 20 years or younger. And then I'm following this path here to go to the aged from 20 to 21. And then this is flowing back into the original starting point, which is people aged 21 to 45. And I can just click on this and pop that in there. And the other 2 feedback loops showing up here are, I'm betting, are going to be these 2. So let's just click on this. Oh, this feedback loop here is the next strongest. B1 and B2. That's where the growth is coming from. So those are the 3 right now. And it's because I'm not changing any policies on these other places. They're not having that much effect. But the point of this is I want you to be able to replicate that. You should be able to read these descriptions and start to build models. But this is an aging chain. This is sort of like the beer game. This is bursts going back. This may show up in a future homework assignment, something similar to this. But the idea of an aging chain. So if I'm in manufacturing, I definitely I'm thinking, when I start processing products, maybe they're going through 3 stages. Or if I'm looking at a river and putting pollutants into the river, right? They're going to be in the wet river. Some of them may be going into the sediment. Some of them may be finally leaving the river. There are a variety of things where this could happen. This could be, new power plants coming online, and then it could be middle-aged power plants, and maybe we're keeping them for too long. I've worked for the Army Corps of Engineers, so they have, dams that are relatively brand new, middle-aged dams and older dams. And it's important to keep track of those because the older dams are more likely to fail and because they would require more maintenance, so it would cost you money. So if you could follow through and build this model for Thursday, that would be great. And I will see you folks in class.